DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
So Ben, I'm wondering now, which way do I do this? Do I plug this outlet strip into this outlet strip? Or do I plug this outlet strip into this one? Because, I want to have at least 20 to 30 outlets.
Well, if you plug one into itself, you have perpetual energy.
You
don't need a generator or anything. You have magic electricity.
Would that allow me to run the Millennium Falcon?
Possibly.
Time travel. Who needs that lightning bolt?
Right. Wireless electricity. Why not?
We'll dig into that tonight. Wireless electricity. Thank you guys for being with us tonight on Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. And of course, this is the one and only Ben Stowe. And you'll probably notice that his hair is not the color of the picture, the thumbnail of the video. That's because just before the show, he decided to go dye it and change it to, brown.
Yeah, back to natural. Well, I am again handling technology for the college football Division I national championship game. And I fly out tomorrow. And since I will be on the sidelines, I will be on TV. So, nobody will really notice me, but if I had that hair, they would notice me.
And and that isn't the school colors.
No, I don't want to be noticed. I want to just do my job and make sure that nobody notices. So hopefully, all the RF works great. No issues with the technology, blah, blah, blah. But by the way, for the record, my hair has never been that color. I think, and I didn't see it until about 10 minutes before the show aired, which I think was carefully done, by your art department, which is Jimmy. But I always enjoy seeing what Jimmy does with that one stock image he has of me. And if I ever see Jimmy around me with a camera, I'm going to be terrified. But I think Brian Redd put him up to this one because Brian Redd does not like, and when I say does not like, I mean he hates, he loathes with a passion the Flaming Lips. And he found out that I like the Flaming Lips, and actually that they order stuff from us. So I think that might have been his way of just Brian and Jimmy. I don't know. I could be wrong, but. You know what? I don't care. It was a good look for me. I think
it was.
Anything you do with this is an improvement. Honestly, let's just be honest here.
So tonight we're going to be talking about overloading of outlets, which is something that we've all experienced, and we're going to dig into that tonight. But before we get to that, let's talk just a couple of seconds about February. You've been working on a presentation. February, we're going to be doing the DJNTV DJ Conference in Las Vegas and kicking off the event on February 24th, noon. The lights will go down. Then the lights will come back up as Howie makes the custom light show for Ben Stowe. And then
this will be good.
On the stage will be Ben Stowe.
I'm a little nervous about it. I'm not going to lie. This will be new ground, even though I've spoken literally hundreds of times. And I've spoken to thousands of people, even to thousands of people in one room at one time. Mm-hmm. But obviously the main stage presentation is new ground for me. It's not, I can't hide behind my geeky science, and the great thing about science is, the things that we talk about on this show largely are empirical fact, and you can argue with them, but you're wrong. Simple as that.
You're wrong.
It's just, it's fact, and anyway, at least fact as we know it. And my presentation on the main stage is going to be deeply personal. And this business is personal to me. In fact, that's the topic. It's not business, it's personal. And that's going to be, I think hard, or at least I'm a little bit nervous about it because again, it is going to be personal. I'm going to talk about some things that I probably wouldn't say in front of 1,000 of my closest friends, but I'm going to, and we're going to talk about the struggles of running and growing a business and the joys of that too. Certainly one of my favorite parts of my 25 plus years in the industry is the deep and meaningful friendships I've made. And
Right.
I'm really excited about that part of it. But to be vulnerable in front of your industry peers, that's kind of scary stuff.
Oh, certainly. Certainly it is. And such. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having a different keynote than what we would expect from Ben Stowe.
It's going to be different. That's for sure.
Seeing the other side, and we get to see that sometimes on the Tuesday night show. A lot of you, if you're regulars, you have seen some nights where we've gotten into personal side of it. But the idea with our show in Vegas this year is that this is part of the family. It's our family time to get together. And if you're going to be coming out and joining us, you can go out to DJNTV.com/tickets. You can get your tickets there to join us in Vegas. But my goal with this show is I want to go around and shake everybody's hand and give everybody a hug and thank you for coming and getting to know you. Because the stage, they're all done. They're going to take care of it and they're going to do that thing. My job is to get to meet you guys and talk to you. A lot of the names and faces, put them all together. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And so Ben talking about family and the personal side of business, I think it's going to be an absolute great start to the show.
I think you can't do something for as long as I've done it with the intensity that I've done it and the number of hours that I've put in, and not have it become a big part of your life. And certainly my family is a big part of my life too, but there's two families here. There's my work family and then there's my family. Yeah. And, again, these deep and meaningful friendships. So I'm actually, I'm actually really looking forward to my masterclass, because that's, 2 hours or 90 minutes of my comfort zone. Honestly, it's going to be my escape. I'm going to go right back into that. And I'm like, sweet, let's dive into, microphone preamps and feedback. And, that's going to be very comfortable for me. And I think that maybe is kind of funny because other people might see that differently. But again, I'm excited about the main stage. I'm excited, for better or worse, to come out and be real with people. And again, hopefully that resonates. Hopefully they come away understanding how they can grow their business, based on how we've grown ours, and how we can do more together. I think as a community, as a family. So
yeah. Great stuff. The information.
Let's see, please check at the doors for tomatoes and stuff like that. If you could have security just as people come through, like magnometers,
I'm more concerned about what Bill Herman, who's going to be introducing you. The last time that didn't.
Is he still sore about getting electrocuted?
No, he doesn't bring it up often.
He didn't bring it up. Okay.
No, not much.
By the way, I don't know if you hear that dinging in the background. I mentioned I fly out to work the college football national championship game tomorrow. That is a friend of mine who lives where the game is, who's texting me to see if I want to go to Rise of Skywalker tomorrow. So there it is. It's actually, he's actually the guitar player from a band that I toured with, and they have tons of hits and they're great guys, and he's a good friend. And anyway, that's that work family I'm talking about, where we met a sound guy and guitar player for a band that sold millions of albums, blah, blah, blah. And he's texting me right now because he knows I'm going to be in his town. He wants to go see the movie. So there it is, right there. That's just, I couldn't have planned that better. So
excellent. Yeah.
And I'm ignoring him to talk to you, by the way. So
that shows you how we rate.
And I hope he's not watching the show. I'm pretty sure he's not. So.
Yeah, you jerk! I'm watching your show for the first time and you ignore it.
Oh, I'd never hear the end of it. So you know what? That's what he gets though, because I was in his city the opening weekend of Mandalorian, and he was supposed to wait to watch it with me, and he didn't. So you know what? Take that. I'm going to ignore you now until the show's over. That's what you get.
Rob asked about the hotel discount. Yes. On the page, we have a link on the DJNTV.com/show. I believe there's a hotel link right there you click that and it will take you to the spot. Otherwise, if you go to the photoboothexpo.com, photoboothexpo.com website, there's book your hotel up there. Either of those links will get you there. And there is a discounted rate. I want to say they're $59 a night, $69 a night, something like that. So that's the rate. Somebody did ask earlier today. They're like,
the hotel is how much?
I think it's $50 or $69 a night. I don't think
that is super affordable.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's
one of the cheapest ones. Is I don't want to get this wrong because I have like 4 shows in Vegas in February, but this is at the South Point, right?
South Point, yes, we are down at South Point.
Ironically, I have a South Point pen on my desk, which is probably from like 10 years ago. But anyway,
Yeah, it would have been
It's actually a nice place. South Point's a pretty nice place. I haven't been there in a few years, but I mean, that's a good rate. And I'm not saying that as your shill here. I'm not saying that to. I'm just saying, wow, that's a great rate for that's a pretty nice hotel. So.
Okay, David said it's 69. Thank you, David. I haven't jumped and checked that. Yeah, it's a very affordable, nice, clean building and such, and it's a good experience. So DJNTV.com/show will take you to the event page. Tickets, DJNTV.com/tickets. All that information for the tickets and the show, discounts and such. The promo code, that's in the description of this video, whichever one you're watching. Go check that out. If you're out at the show, the main convention page, DJNTV.com/show. That's where you'll see the masterclass, what timing that is. And the cool thing about it, like Dave said, he's got the pass for the masterclass, is that if you're in the masterclass with Ben or any of the masterclasses, anything that's going on in the main room during that time, you're going to get access to those videos. So you're not going to miss anything. You'll have to wait a week to get to see the videos, but you're going to be able to take the masterclass, just sit and enjoy and absorb that, knowing that you're not missing anything from the main room. So, okay, we need to get to our topic tonight here.
I was delaying it as long as I could.
I know, because you were really wanting me to pull out my outlet strips here. Actually, I should have brought the one that, because of we have multiple YouTube channels for those who do not know, and one of them is a handyman channel. And I get companies from China who send things out. I have no idea it's coming. All of a sudden, there's a box, and Lori's like, "What did you order this time?" Never a good statement to hear from your wife. I'm just going to say it. But 9 chances out of 10, it's probably something coming from one of these companies that send things out. So one little thing that was sent out, I mean, I've seen some of these little round things that have multiple outlets around, 12 outlets, what have you. One of them came out, and it had literally 24 outlets in this cylinder thing. It's an outlet strip with 4 outlets, 6 tiers high, 24 outlets in that thing. How can... I don't know.
Well, it comes, and now we're getting right into the topic, but it comes down to amperage. I mean, I suppose you could have 24 low amperage devices in there without much risk. It doesn't sound like a good idea to me. It's just kind of going, it doesn't sound like a good idea. But again, with LED lighting and that sort of thing, now our amperage draw is substantially lower. We'll look at this later, but I have an amperage meter on my desk because of course I do. Of course I do. But anyway, I'm running everything I'm running right now. The computer, audio interface, a couple of monitors, subwoofer, lighting, all that. My consumption right now is 1.7 amps, so it's very low. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually looking to see how many outlets I have on my desk.
I was just gonna get a couple of props here together.
I have 25 receptacles on my desk. So
now, okay, so you have 25 outlets there. How many of those, are they all in the same circuit, or do you have those divided up into different circuits?
No, they're all in the same circuit, but they're on sequence stages, so I can turn on and off banks of them.
Okay.
But I guess to the point of your audio or your power tower thing you've got there, whatever they would call it.
Yeah, it's a good way to describe it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there are 24 receptacles here, 25, excuse me, that are all on the same circuit. But again, it comes down to amperage. I'm using 1.7 amps on a 20 amp circuit. So I have a lot of room before I'm in any real danger of overloading that circuit. And what's nice is, of course, I've got that meter, which is more or less a toy for me at this point, but it tells me, so it's kind of a nice thing. Now, there are power conditioners and power distribution units and things with meters on them that DJs could use to monitor their load at a show. Mm-hmm. So, things like the Furman, the DMC. Measuring voltage is nice just because it shows you what your voltage is from the wall. Although, really, by and large, you can't change that. You can find out if you have a problem, but you can't change that. But monitoring your amperage, that's of real value because that's where you're going to trip the breaker or where you're going to melt things or set things on fire. And as I was, trying to prepare some things for the show in my haste of also trying to prepare for the college football championship, and then NAM is the week after that. So I got a lot of things kind of, going on here. I remembered some pictures that I had of a power distribution equipment that came back damaged. And I thought I might share those with the viewers because
oh, cool.
So you want me to just do it now?
Yeah, let's go, and then we can kind of bridge.
Jump right in. Let's jump into the what could go wrong category here.
And Dave made a great point here. Sometimes some of the events are cold, especially up here in Minnesota. I mean, tonight Benstow is probably going to be 10, 15 below. There's nothing like having 24 space heaters plugged in and heating to keep you warm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Heaters tend to draw high levels of current, which is that's what amperage is. Amperage is a measure of current, which is the flow of electricity, the speed of the electricity, as it were. Shoot, I had a point, but I lost. Oh, crock pots. Yes, we just had Christmas, and that's always a game of how many crock pots can we run without, or warmers, or that sort of thing. Roasters. How many heating devices can we run until we blow a circuit? So happy to report none this year. I finally got ahead of the curve. It's me against all the women.
I've got this little cheese spread that just needs to be warmed up just a little bit now. Where can I plug it into?
That's where those amperage meters are real handy. And I'll show some other tools that, again, our viewers represent a really broad cross section. We probably have some licensed electricians that are watching that are going to go, oh, that's amateur stuff. And, if you're a licensed electrician, it would be. But then there's other people who are going to go, I am never touching a meter. I don't ever want to know, that sort of thing. So let me share this picture here, and I'm going to pick this one first. And I don't recall if this is my picture or not, but it's actually in the "What Were They Thinking" album on my Facebook page. And if you can see it,
oh yes, we can see it. There's a little bit of not only scorching, but a melting kind of formed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We can see that this thing got hot and was hot for substantial periods of time as well. Again, not just the scorching, but also the deformity of the plastic. There's actually a story, a news article of a facility. I think it's actually here in my city. Yeah, it is. It's on the north side of town that burned down because a power strip caught on fire. So those very power strips that you were looking at, right. That power strip itself was the ignition source.
Wow.
Yeah, it's here again, there's so many different ways and places you can buy these things, and it seems like sometimes you just can't win because some of these power strips are treated with they're designed not to melt or burn, and then those materials are cancerous. And then this one caught on fire and actually was the reason the whole building burned down. Now this one we can see obviously didn't catch on fire, at least not yet, and didn't burn the place down.
Well, of course it wouldn't, because you can see the protection lights right there, so it's safe.
Still seems to be operating.
Yeah, exactly. So. It looks perfectly safe.
But this is one example of too much current, too much amperage. We have too much heat. What's interesting is I don't know if a breaker blew or not here, but obviously we generated too much heat. And there's a lot of different ways that manifests itself. If the connectors themselves are not rated for the amount of amperage, they're obviously going to get hot. If the wire is too small, here's a shameless plug for the Geek Boot Camp DVD that we shot several years ago. But we actually took an extension cord and put it under load and then put an infrared camera on it so you could see the cord heating up under the load. That was a lot of fun. And we did that with a couple different gauges of cord so you could see how that was affected.
That was very impressive. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you. So let's go ahead.
So it looks to me like that particular 6-way outlet there was a zombie apocalypse waiting to happen.
Might have been. Wait till you see the next one. And we're moving up here. This is going to be still power that DJs might see at one of their venues or something, but we're moving into this would be a 240 volt. And here I think you can see that metal box that's open.
Yeah.
With my hands modeling the inside. But if we look right here, you can see that. Whoops. Let's go back. You look right here.
Yeah.
You can see that plastic is melted. It has melted the receptacle.
So that little bubble there is the melted plastic from above.
Yes. And what I want to point out is that this is a name brand pro grade receptacle. So, Leviton or Hubble or something, this is here we don't have worries about this being some shady Chinese thing. And it still managed to melt because of the amount of heat that was put in this. Now, I don't know what they did with this. I really don't. And of course, nobody was there to talk about it or tell me. But here you can see this receptacle has completely, wow, oh gosh, come on, computer. Well, there's the plug. And I had to basically force them apart.
They fused together.
Yeah, they were fused. The plug was fused into the receptacle.
Wow.
And it was not a good day. I was not happy when I was shown that. So
wow. Think of the amount of power because that type of is typically a 50 amp unit, isn't it?
Yeah, that is exactly. Good job, John. That's a NEMA 1450 connector. So yeah, 240 volt, 50 amp, or 100 amps at 120 volts. And twice in my life, I have actually seen transformers on poles catch on fire. Once was when I was working the College World Series. I almost said College Football National Championship. That's what I leave for tomorrow. Never mind. The College World Series in Omaha saw a transformer burst into flames, and another time was on a church install in Texas where a temporary power drop on the job site was run over by a scissor lift, shorted out, and there was no fuse, there was no breaker, or as we would call them in the electrical world, no overcurrent protection device between that short and the pole. So basically that thing just danced and arced and sparked until the transformer caught on fire. And then the fireworks show really got good. And I said, hey guys, let's just go to lunch. I think our day's done. So I don't think we're going to be working here anymore today.
So in a situation like that, the electric companies, ones that are going to have to come out and deal with that, do they have to go like down the line somewhere and then pop one of those little breaker fuses out or the disconnects, or how do they do that?
Yeah, that's above my pay grade. I do have a friend who's a CEO of a power cooperative who could probably speak very intelligently to that. But obviously, when you're dealing with transmission lines, it's not as simple as a light switch in a house.
That could be.
There's a process for bringing these things back online, and it goes back to power generation stations and substations, and there's this whole network of things in between. And again, that's above my pay grade. I'm not even going to try to pretend. Maybe someday we'll get him on to talk about what happens if you set your venue on fire. But today, let's just talk about how you don't.
Yeah, let's go with the don'ts first. Yeah, that's a good idea. Although I really like my idea of plugging the outlet strip into the outlet strip, so I get 12 outlets. Well,
can't say I can condone it, but again, amperage is key here. So let's just talk. I mentioned overcurrent protection devices, and that's a really fancy way of saying a breaker or a fuse. On this device in here, there's a little pop breaker. I guess I wouldn't be able to get a good camera shot of it, so I won't bother. But I think everybody has breakers in their house, and they're familiar with that. Or you have pop-out breakers on your gear, and then of course fuses. And that's the punchline to one of my favorite jokes. What do you call a wire that's too short and too small? A fuse. Here's some examples of fuses. Here we can see just kind of your simple standard glass fuses, a blade type fuse, an automotive, whatever. But basically the job of the fuse, which is short for fusible link, is to burn up when we have an excess of current. So as we saw in those previous examples, too much current or too much amperage causes heat buildup and causes potential for fire. In the case of a fuse, that heat causes the wire to melt and thus breaking the circuit. So now you have zero amperage.
Yeah, protecting and saving the house from burning down.
Absolutely. Or the gear or whatever. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. So in houses now, there's a couple other things, and this is not super relevant for DJs because it's unlikely they would encounter this type of technology. But, for example, arc fault breakers.
Yeah.
DJs would certainly be familiar with ground fault interrupters, GFCIs, which are very common in outdoor use because obviously they keep you alive, that's important.
That's important, yeah.
So now I think one of the questions, if I was to read your mind, you're going to say, well, that's all fine and well, but how do I know how much amperage I am using?
That was actually where I was going to, because I think of all these little plug-in things that we have nowadays, these little wall warts. It used to be that we only had a couple of things being plugged in. Now we might have 15 things being plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the days of our old halogen lights, and with 2 things we could have issues. Now I have 15 things plugged in, and how can I be sure that I'm not revisiting those days of those big halogen lights and having those breakers pop.
Well, I neglected to grab one of my favorite conversation pieces. Let me grab it real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. So while Ben's grabbing that, this is the time for you guys to go grab ice cream, because that's pretty much what he's doing. He's probably got ice cream around.
Too late. Sorry, no ice cream for you.
We were so close.
I know. So we've talked about this a lot. We've joked that these guys should be paying us a commission but they're not. I wish they were. But the kilowatt, which will allow us to measure the amperage along with a number of other things, including voltage and wattage, and assuming a power factor of 1 volt amperes equals wattage, but power factor isn't always 1. So let's just leave that out of the discussion for today. But this would allow us to simply plug in our load. So you could plug this into whatever's feeding your 15 devices, and then plug this end into your power supply or the wall, and you could get a reading. You don't necessarily have to measure everything at once. You could just take measurements and make notes. With a sound system, though, if you look at your sound system at idle, you're going to find it's very, very, very low.
Mm-hmm.
There's virtually no power consumption. So you obviously have to bring it up to a level, and go back and look at some of our shows on amplifiers and wattage, and you'll see where that power draw is going to vary significantly based on the content material of the audio. But again, it's going to get you in the neighborhood. There are other ways to do it. Let me just give you a kind of a behind the scenes tour here of my little home office. So here we can see there's that voltmeter I was talking about, and you can see that right now the voltage here is about 123. It's fluctuating a little bit, and you can see that my amperage is holding in about 1.7 amps, and that is running a computer and an audio interface and a couple of monitors and a few other things, and so obviously no danger of tripping a circuit there.
Okay, but since you just showed that, Ben, the voltage was kind of varying by a volt or two back and forth. What was causing that variation? Was that from the pole and the transformer out there that was sending somewhere in that range, or is it the computer draw that was making that voltage kind of vary just a little bit?
Pretty unlikely that I'm having volt drop occurring from that low of a load, and I don't know what else is on this breaker, but I doubt much else. My guess, as honest as it could be, is it probably just the meter is not super accurate. It's probably it's either moving too fast and it's not taking a long enough average, or it's maybe just not quite that accurate. I remember we got a new distro for the concert production, and we were seeing a lot of weird fluctuation on the amperage on that. Now, your question was on voltage, but I'm going to switch to amperage for a second.
Yeah.
And we called the manufacturer and we said, yeah, this thing is really weirdly fluctuating on amperage. And they said, well, how much amperage? And this is a 200 amp 3-phase distro, mind you. So we're talking about running like a small trailer park.
Yeah.
You know? And they said, well, how much amperage? And we said, no, just basically at idle, and they said, oh, it's not even accurate until you pull like 30, So they're like, yeah, just forget about it. It's not even accurate at that low of a level. So I was like, oh, okay, good to know,
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, that is good to know. Because I wondered that, because I've got a couple of devices that will have those readouts, and it's like they do, and on occasion, jump around a little bit.
Yeah, it could be, or it could be, you could be experiencing that jump, and it could have something to do with my neighborhood and that sort of thing. But when you get, again, this comes down to the power distribution, from a substation out to the transformers to the point of utilization, which is in the house. And then if something kicks on in the house that creates a load that voltage could drop, because volt drop is directly relational to amperage and that sort of thing. But I don't know that that's the case here. I think the thing just might be a little goofy, and again, for my purposes here in my office at home, it's just a toy.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm not looking for laboratory grade, readouts. So it handles the power sequencing of the equipment on my desk and gives me a fancy little light show while I'm at it. That said, again, there are good options for DJs that have amperage meters, which are certainly accurate enough to prevent you from problems at gigs. As always, feel free to message me and I'll help guide you to one and, get you a good deal too. So that's an option. For our more advanced users, you can use something like an amperage meter or a clamp meter. and you basically clamp this around a conductor, and that will give you a measurement. I'm looking to see if I have a cable close by. Well, let's just pretend. So if I was to use this cable and simply put my clamp meter around it, that's not going to work. And the reason it's not going to work is because inside this jacket are 3 conductors. There is my line conductor, my neutral, and my ground. So anyway, it won't work. You have to isolate the line conductor to measure what's going through it.
Okay.
And what I've done, which is kind of one of those do not try this at home moments. Again, if you're comfortable with it, you're comfortable with it. But if you're not, don't. I made my own little adapter plug, which has the line isolated here.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I can plug in basically I made my own kilowatt, basically, except that I can use a meter with it and take it wherever I go. So I plug my load in here, plug my supply in here, and then I put my clamp meter over here, and now I can measure what that is. Or in the case of like our 3-phase distros, we can simply go, and we have bigger meters for that. Obviously, this is just a little one for my backpack, but I can go and clamp a meter over each of those 3 phases, and I can look at what that load is.
What's being drawn, yeah.
Absolutely. So that's more on the advanced side, as it were. Also, by the way, there are devices you can buy that are ready-made versions of this, and they are UL listed and safe and all that sort of thing. So I think I'd probably urge you to do that instead of a make your own kind of thing.
Right.
I think I made that at a job one time when I needed to accomplish it, and I was so happy with what I made, I kept it. So,
well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've all done that, right? So, and again, if I'm using it, and the only person I'm going to kill is going to be me, so then you'd have to find somebody new for your show, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be a bad thing. That'd be bad. DJ Rez asked about a voltage regulator. Kind of explain what voltage regulator would be and a use for that.
All right. So let's imagine a swimming pool, and we've got a hose going into the swimming pool, pouring in water. And then we have a hose coming out of the pool, supplying water somewhere else. And if those 2 hoses are flowing at the same rate, the pool level will maintain a consistent level. Okay. And this is a magic pool that can't overfill, by the way. So the only hose we're really worried about is the one going out. And that's an analogy for my voltage regulator. So the hose coming in is my power from the wall. My hose going out represents my power to your equipment. And if the voltage drops below a certain level, the pool can pull from the stored water to keep that flow consistent until it can get caught up inside the pool again. So basically, that's an oversimplified way of thinking about a voltage regulator, but that's what it does. It prevents too much voltage from going out, and it prevents too little from voltage going out. And undervolts can be equally or more dangerous than overvolts because, and if we just think about this in terms of Ohm's law, where, volt amperes is a measure of power. So volts times amps equals volt amperes. And again, with a power factor of 1, that's watts. If we want to maintain a certain amount of power, which is watts or volt amperes, real or apparent power, we're getting a little bit advanced here. Sorry. We'll come back. We need to have more amps if we have less volts. So let me say that again in a really simple way. If we have less volts, we need more amps, which remembers the thing that causes heat and fire and all that bad stuff, in order to equal the same amount of power. So one more time. Less volts needs more amps to make the same amount of power. So an undervolt can be equally or more dangerous than an overvolt.
So when taking that concept, let's say that we're in this VFW that has some guy was going to be smart and put this huge breaker on this outlet, put a 30 amp breaker on this 15 amp outlet. Way too much. Now I'm plugging into it, and if I'm drawing 20 amps out of this, but yet it's not wired to be able to give me 20 amps out of that, and yet the breaker's not going to pop.
Right.
Am I going to have a situation when I'm trying to pull those 20 amps where I'm going to cause an undervoltage in that situation? Or is it going to be a situation where those amps just aren't there and it's just going to heat up and everything's going... What would happen?
I think your bigger risk of a volt drop or that sort of thing. I think that's not the risk.
Okay.
I think the bigger risk is that those conductors can't handle that rated load. So, for example, if you go to a house and you see a receptacle that has 2 vertical slots and 1 ground slot, just exactly like what we see on our kilowatt, that is a 15 amp receptacle. If you see the ones that has a sideways one, that's a 20 amp. Now, you can put 15 amp receptacles on a 20 amp breaker. Okay. And you'd say, well, wait a minute, the receptacle is only rated for 15, but the breaker is 20. Why can I do that? Because you could draw from multiple 15 amp receptacles to make your 20 amp load.
Sure.
However, you can't put a 20 amp receptacle on a 15 amp breaker, because that device would be, by design, capable of pulling more power than the circuit is designed to provide to you. So in this case, what you're talking about is a large breaker and a smaller receptacle, but then a device that draws more than that receptacle is rated to pull.
Correct.
And that's just a dangerous, potential situation. Again, if that wiring is not rated to handle the capacity of that breaker, the wire could heat up, could melt or combust. And boy, it gets into some really dizzying stuff here, because there's things called, derating, where, for example, if I have an extension cord, gosh, I'm just woefully prepared for this. I'm sorry. But if I have an extension cord that has a 90 degrees Celsius rating on the jacket, and I take it out in the hot Arizona sun, it is already hot before I put electricity into it. So I no longer have the same capacity that I did. So I have to derate the capacity of that, Anyway, bottom line, you should have overcurrent protection in your gear. You'll have breakers, you have circuit breakers or fuses on the gear itself. You'll have them on your distribution equipment or your power conditioners, and so on and so forth, which should prevent something from drawing that great of a load. The wiring in the building, again, we talked about the guy at the VFW here that did that, thought it was a good idea. I'm not sure how to answer that, because I'd like to say we could take it on faith that wiring in venues is good, but we know that's not the case.
Exactly. It's better than it was. I would say that.
But I guess I don't know what to tell you, other than, use the appropriate cord and plug equipment with the appropriate receptacle. And if you know there is a problem, bring that to the venue's attention and don't use it. Obviously the pictures we saw earlier were from improper use. There clearly was not the appropriate breaker, and I mean not even close. There probably was no breaker involved when it melted that and fused those 1450s together. I have no idea what they did. Again, nobody wanted to talk to me about it. They just wanted me to clean it up,
Fix this. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knew anything, you know what I mean?
It's amazing. It just happened. I don't know. We were just in the back, making balloon animals. And
all of a sudden the whole world caught on fire. I mean, they're really lucky somebody wasn't seriously injured there.
For sure. That could have been ugly.
And I mentioned that job in Texas. That was, I think, one of the things that bothered me the most. And I went and I talked to the general contractor, but I said, look, there was no overcurrent protection. There was nothing except the transformer catching on fire stop that.
Yeah, stop. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody could have been seriously killed.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to not be seriously killed, but somebody could have been killed or seriously injured. So, whatever. So I guess that's the moral of that story is don't take things always on faith and protect yourself and look out for yourself. Here's the Ben's speech on safety. When you're using a meter, use safety glasses, use gloves. I just saw a post recently, and I don't know the validity of the post, but it certainly seems plausible, where a guy had brought his meter in from sub-zero temperatures, and there was apparently some condensate in the meter, and it caused an arc in the meter, and the meter exploded. And bottom line, if he'd been wearing gloves and safety glasses, there wouldn't have been a post. Might have been a post of just the meter, but his post showed his hand with third-degree burns.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was bad. Arcs are probably the most dangerous thing that happened in electricity.
Yeah, that they are, because they're not forgiving.
No, they don't care. They don't care. They don't like you. They don't care. They don't like you or dislike you. They just I mean, they're just electrons. They're just trying to, get to ground. So that's why arc fault breakers are such a big deal now. They finding that's where the biggest loss of property in life is with arcs in properties. So bedrooms and that sort of thing. Anyway, I kind of rambled on there a little bit. We talked about a few things. We got any viewer questions to bring us back on track?
No, we hit the voltage and they've been just kind of following along and such. We got a lot of folks watching this evening, so thank you guys for being out there on Facebook or YouTube. Yes, Nick was saying he hopes to never be seriously killed. So that's
I hope for none of you to be seriously killed, or I hope for you not to be killed under any circumstances. But it's funny. I don't know if you follow my Instagram. I'm not very good at posting. I'm going to get better. I'm going to post some stuff from NAM and maybe even some stuff in the game. So
excellent.
It's NLFX Ben on Instagram if you want to follow me, and I'll try to do better. I'll try not to stink at it. But I saw a thing. I was scrolling through my news feed and I saw an ad, and it said something like, eat this pepper or something, and it reduces death by 23%. And I thought, I'm pretty sure no matter what I eat, my risk of death is still exactly 100%.
Yeah.
It's just a question of time, So anyway, I don't know. To prevent your imminent death, here are some electrical safety tips. Again, when you're using meters, wear safety glasses and gloves. Always use cords in good repair. Do not use cords that are frayed or damaged. Use the appropriate connector for the load you're using. Put the right connector into the right receptacle. And in general, just don't be a moron,
Don't be a moron.
Don't be, the Darwin Awards, they give out awards for this. So, Nick, if you are seriously killed, you could win an award for that. But, listen, I'd rather see you here and I'd rather see you in Vegas. Let's have that handshake, a hug, a bowl of ice cream. But for the love of God, please don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
And worse, you could kill somebody else. And
that doesn't make for a good afternoon.
No, it's a pretty bad day. So don't do that.
Well, Ben, we're going to wrap things up here tonight. Thank you much for your work on this tonight. Next week is NAM week, so you're going to be packing your bag and getting ready to go next week.
Yeah, I go right from the game to NAM, and then right after NAM, I've got a class. So I'm going to be in class. I'll be attending a class. But exciting news for our viewers, I think, a little bit. In addition to the numerous certifications and things that I hold, I will be certified to certify. So I will be able to issue a certification that it's one of the AVIXA recognized certifications for HD-based T. So maybe some future training opportunities for our viewers that they could actually get a recognized certification from. So that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that after it's all over, so we can kind of explain what that is.
We'll see if I want to talk about it after it's over. I don't know.
And hopefully, so then you'll be going from that to this, from NAM to that. So maybe in 2 weeks we can maybe get together and do if you could go and do the top 10 picks from NAM.
And Katie's going to be doing videos. Keep an eye on the NLFX Instagram, which is just at NLFX, and Facebook. Watch our YouTube channel. I know that, John, we're going to have some stuff for you on the Disc Jockey News TV channel. So as always, keep watching here. But Katie will have a ton of great stuff from NAM. And then I'll try to sift through my feelings and just sort of come to peace about what my top 10 are. It's always hard when you have so many things at NAM. It's hard to pick 10.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. So we will not be doing a Tuesday night with Ben Stowe next week, but in 2 weeks, if everything works out, we'll catch up then. So Ben, safe travels, and thank you guys once again for being with us. Brian and Jay and I will be back and talking about YouTube gear videos here in about 15 minutes. Good night, everybody.